Legislation is a top priority because equality for the LGBTQ community is a top priority for us. Sexual orientation and gender identity deserve full civil rights protections in the workplace and in every place.
With all the pressing issues the country faces, Congress made passage of the so-called Equality Act a top priority. And yet Speaker Pelosi even admitted, quote, "If there's some collateral damage for some others who do not share our view, so be it," end quote.
The bill is passed.
The Equality Act is a bill that seeks to add sexual orientation and gender identity to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But it removes all religious protection that will be provided under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act.
Ideally, when you have a non-discrimination law, it needs to be based on something intrinsic that can't change, like race or gender. It should not be based on things that can literally change from day to day.
One of the great misconceptions is that somehow this whole transgender movement is supported by science, and that recognizing gender identity rather than sex as the determinant of whether we are male or female has been scientifically proven to be valid. Really, the opposite is the case. Sex is a biological term rooted in reproductive capacity and is immutable. You cannot change someone's sex.
Critics note that the Equality Act would nullify virtually all pro-life laws to protect the preborn, forcing taxpayers to fund abortions. It would also codify into law the militant LGBTQ agenda, including the transgender push. So a man who identifies as a woman can use the ladies' room, and on it goes. Some critics note that this law denies scientific realities.
Human beings are two sexes, and you've either got the chromosomes of a male or the chromosomes of a female, and to deny that is to deny basic reality. And to put people who have what used to be called and should be called gender dysphoria under a protected class, and to say that if you discriminate, if you say no, that you're not a different sex than you were born, that you are discriminating, and we're going to open up all the restrooms and all the other facilities to be in a protected status for this. It's insanity. It's legal insanity.
Critics note that the Equality Act would punish those who disagree with the radical LGBTQ agenda, even on religious grounds.
They want to control speech. They're acting like fascists on campus and censors. They want conformity to their viewpoint, and they want to ostracize people who disagree with their viewpoint to the level of Klansmen. They want to turn us into the ostracized equivalent of Ku Klux Klansmen.
With the transgender movement, we're talking, by definition, we're talking not about what people do in private, but about what they do in public, how they present themselves publicly, how they want to be treated in the workplace, in the schools, on athletic teams, in the restrooms and showers and locker rooms. So this is very much a public issue. It's not one of just tolerance, it's one of forced affirmation. People are being told that the government will use, the force of law will be used to compel them to affirm something, in some cases that they believe is a falsehood, namely the idea that a man can become a woman or a woman can become a man.
Nancy Pearcey, author and professor, notes that the so-called Equality Act makes some Americans more equal than others, and those who disagree with this agenda will be completely marginalized.
The Equality Act creates a collision course with the First Amendment, because what it is saying is many things that are taught in the Bible would no longer be legal in the employment context. And so whether churches and ministries would be forced to comply, many Christian business owners and others would find themselves in a very tough situation. It's expanding an agenda that says if you're going to be a moral employer, you will be in violation of the law.
So the Equality Act would affect religious liberty pretty dramatically. Number one, it would penalize Americans that don't hold the same social views on sexuality and gender identity as everyone else, particularly religious Americans. It would also compel speech, would force Americans to talk about these issues in the same way, even if they don't agree. And lastly, it completely guts the federal Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which would provide protections against the government being able to burden an American's religious exercise.